ये देखो। अरे वाह। तो मैंने देखा था। नमस्कार। आज 6 अगस्त 2026 के सायकालीन सत्र में आप सभी का अरण्य विहार ट्रस्ट की ओर से स्वागत है। प्रारंभ करेंगे सायकालीन वंदना से। अर्पण एवं प्रारंभिक वंदना। योऽसो भगवा अरहन् सम्मा सम्बुद्धो स्वाक्षातो येन भगवता धम्मो सुपटिपन्नो यस्य भगवतो सावकसङ्घो तन्मयं भगवन्तं सधम्मं ससङ्घम् इमे सकारे हि यथा रहन्नारोपिते हि अभिपूजयाम साधुनो भन्ते भगवा शुचिर्परिणेपतोऽपि पश्चिमा जनतानुकम्पमा न सा इमे सकारे दुगतपणाकारभूते पटिगणहातु अमहाकन् दीघरतन हिताय सुखाय अरहन् सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादेमि स्वाक्षातो भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो सङ्घं नमामि। प्रारंभिक वंदना। हन्मयन् बुद्धस्य भगवतो पुबभाङ्नं कारन् करोमसे नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स बुद्ध धम्म संघ गुण करेंगे। इतिपिसो भगवा अरहन् सम्मा सम्बुद्धो विद्याचरण संपन्नो सुगतो लोकविदु अनुत्तरो पुरुषधम्मसारथी सत्ता देव मनुस्सानन् बुद्धो भगवाति ऐसे है वे भगवान अरहंत सम्यक संबुद्ध प्रज्ञा और आचरण से संपन्न सुगत एवं लोक ज्ञाता मनुष्यों को संयमित करने वाले अनुपम सारथी देवों और मनुष्यों के शास्ता भगवान बुद्ध स्वाक्षातो भगवता धम्मो सन्दिठिको अकालिको एहिपस्सिको औपनयिको पश्चात्तन्वेदितव्यो विन्योहीति। जो धम्म भगवान ने भली भांति समझाया, स्पष्ट दिखाई देने वाला, कालातीत, अन्वेषणा को प्रोत्साहित करने वाला, अंतर्मुखी करने वाला, प्रत्येक प्रज्ञावान को व्यक्तिगत रूप से अनुभव होने वाला है। सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो, उजुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो, न्यायपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो, सामीचिपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो, यदिदं चत्तारि पुरुषयुगानि अट्ठ पुरुषपुक्कला, एष भगवतो सावक संघो, आहुनेयो पाहुनेयो दक्षिणेयो अंजलिकरणेयो, अनुत्तरं पुण्यखेतन लोकसति। धम्म के मार्ग को अच्छी तरह प्रतिपादित करने वाले भगवान के श्रावक संग, धम्म के मार्ग को सीधे प्रतिपादित करने वाले भगवान के श्रावक संग, धम्म के मार्ग को ज्ञान पूर्वक प्रतिपादित करने वाले भगवान के श्रावक संग, धम्म के मार्ग को निष्ठा पूर्वक प्रतिपादित करने वाले भगवान के श्रावक संग, जो है चार युगल और 8 प्रकार के आर्य, ऐसे है भगवान के श्रावक संग। वे है भेंट देने योग्य, आतिथ्य के योग्य, दक्षिणा देने के योग्य और नमस्कार के योग्य। वे है इस लोक में अतुलनीय पुण्य क्षेत्र। रिफ्लेक्शन में हम 32 अंगों का विवेचन करेंगे। अन्वयन द्वितिंसाकार पाठन भणामसे, आए हम शरीर के 32 अंगों का पाठ करें। अयन खो में कायो उत्तन पादतला, अधो के समर्थका तच पर्यंतो, पूरो नानापकारस्य असुचिनो। यह है मेरी काया, तलवों से ऊपर एवं सर से नीचे, त्वचा से लिपटी हुई, पूर्ण रूप से नाना प्रकार की असुंदर वस्तुओं से भरी हुई। अत्थि इमस्मिन् काये केसा लोमा नखा दंता तच्चो मनसन नहरु अट्ठी अट्ठिमिंजन वकनन हृदयन यकनन खिलोमकन पीहकन फफ्वासन अंतन अंतगुणन उदरियन करीसन पित्तन सेमहन पुप्पो लोहितन सेदो मेदो असु वसा खेलो संघाणिका लसिका मुत्तन मत्थलुंडगंती। इस काया में है सर के बाल, शरीर के बाल, नाखून, दांत, त्वचा, मांस, नसें, हड्डियां, मज्जा, गुर्दे, दिल, जिगर, झिल्लियां, तिल्ली, फेफड़े, आते, अंतड़िया, पेट में पड़ा भोजन, मल, पित्त, कफ, पस, रक्त, पसीना, चर्बी, आंसू, वसा, थूक, श्लेम, जोड़ों का तेल, मूत्र, मस्तिष्क, एवं अयन कायो उत्तनपादतला अधो के समर्थकातच पर्यंतो पूरो नानापकारस्य असुचिनो। ऐसी है मेरी काया, तलवों से ऊपर एवं सर से नीचे त्वचा से लिपटी हुई, पूर्ण रूप से नाना प्रकार की असुंदर वस्तुओं से भरी हुई। इन्हीं रिफ्लेक्शंस के साथ मैं सर को सेशन को हैंड ओवर करती हूँ। ओवर टू यू सर।
थैंक यू पूनम, थैंक यू। नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धास्स। नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धास्स। नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धास्स। इमानि धम्मा प्रतिपद्य इन्द्रं पूजयामि धम्मं पूजयामि संघं पूजयामि। गुड इवनिंग, नमस्कार सब। कोइंसिडेंटली आज पूनम ने जो चैंट किया वहीं से हमको डिस्कशन शुरू करना है। सबसे गुड कोइंसिडेंस। तुमने जो सेशंस किए हैं, कल जो लास्ट था वो यापत कल जो हमने किया था इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ इरियापथ एंड संपजान पद्म, जो समाप्त हुआ, तो उसका अगला जो पर्व है वह है प्रतिकूल मानसिकार पद्म। कायानुपशना प्रतिकूल मानसिकार पद्म। प्रतिकूल का मतलब होता है अपोजिट। इन द हिंदी there's a word pratikul and anukul. Anukul means in accordance with what you generally do, and pratikul means in opposite to that. So pratikul mansikara pabbam means doing it in looking at the kaya in an opposite manner to what is conventionally done. So it is usually translated as giving attention to the unattractive aspects of the body. So देखते हैं क्या chanting है इस section की। इममेव कायमुद्धं पादतला अधोके समर्थका तच पर्यन्तं पूरं नानाप्रकारस्य असुचिनो कच्च वेक्षति. कच्च वेक्षति no? It reflects upon it. Atthimasmin kaye kesha loma nakha danta tacho amsang and so on, जो आप संयोग से पूनम ने चांट किया था. तो क्या कहा जा रहा है कि इस काया में पाँव के तलवे से लेकर सिर के सिरे तक काया चमड़ी से लिपटा हुआ जो शरीर है वो नाना प्रकार के असुंदर वस्तुओं से पार्ट से भरा हुआ है. So the body from the soles of the feet to the top of the head and covered by the skin is filled with very impure things, unattractive things. And he reflects on them, saying, Atti masmin kaya, in this body there are, and he gives the list the parts. Generally, the first five parts are those which are externally visible. Kesha means this hair, Loma means the body hair, Nakha means the nails, Danta means the teeth, and Tacho means the skin. These are externally visible. So in whole Thailand, all people who become bhikkhus, this is their first contemplation, which is given to them at the ordination time, which means they have to contemplate on these five parts of the body, and then they increase it to the 32 parts which Poonam chanted. So why should we do it? Buddha gives a very clear reason for it in Anguttara Nikaya. Put it here in the translation. Compared to the sight, sound, smell, taste, touch of a woman, I don't see a single touch that is so arousing, sensuous, intoxicating, captivating, and infatuating, and such an obstacle to reaching the supreme sanctuary from a yoke. Remember, he's talking to bhikkhus. So for bhikkhus, it is the touch of a woman, and for bhikkhunis, it will be men. So the whole constitution of human body and the human race is such that there's an inbuilt attraction for the opposite gender. And that becomes so captivating and intoxicating that it will become a big obstruction. In our Nivaran Pabbam, which we'll study later, the first Nivaran means the obstacle or hindrance is Kamachanda, sensual lust, sensory pleasures. So the particular Mansikar Pabbam is a healthy, kushal upaya for overcoming that. तो क्या है प्रतिकूल मानसिकार ब्रह्म? वो इसलिए भगवान ने सिखाया क्योंकि पुरुष का नारी के शरीर के प्रति या और नारी का पुरुष के शरीर के प्रति एक नैसर्गिक अट्रैक्शन रहता है जो कि बहुत ही जल्दी एक आसक्ति, गहरी आसक्ति शरीर के प्रति इसमें जाग जाता है और जो हमारी साधना में बाधा पैदा करता है. तो इसलिए भगवान सभी साधकों को, साधिकाओं को और खासतौर पे भिक्षुओं को, भिक्षुओं को बहुत स्ट्रांगली रिकमेंड करते हैं कि हमको जो काया है उसके असुंदर एस्पेक्ट पे भी ध्यान देना चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं कि हम उस पर थोप रहे हैं, बस सिर्फ इतना कर रहे हैं कि शरीर के अंदर क्या है, क्योंकि जो काया की सुंदरता है वो सिर्फ चमड़े के कारण, स्किन है जो उसे ढका हुआ है. अगर स्किन को हटा दें, जो एक बहुत फेमस आचार्य रही हैं अय्या खेमा, जो पहली भिक्षुणी थी मॉडर्न टाइम की, वो कहा करती थी कि आप मान लीजिए यहाँ पे शरीर पे आपके जिप लगी हुई और आपने जिप बंद किया हुआ नॉर्मली, आप मान लीजिए इसको खोल दें और स्किन हटा के अंदर देखें तो क्या दिखेगा? तो वही वो 32 पार्ट की बात की जाती है कि वो दिखेगा तो उसमें कोई सुंदरता नहीं है. तो ये ऑब्वियसली हम ऐसा तो है नहीं कि खुद काट के देखेंगे. सो दिस इज कॉन्टेम्पलेशन. ये भिक्षु लोग जो है कई बार कुछ मोनेस्ट्रीज में पोस्टमार्टम पे को ले आते हैं उनको देखने के लिए. कई जगह कॉर्प्स के पास जाना, शमशान घाट में जाना is a common thing there. And in some monasteries, for example, in Wat Prananachar, and there is a skeleton kept in the mining meditation hall itself, so that one can reflect on that. हमने भी धम्मरामा में एक स्केलेटन रखा था, वो संघरामा में है, अभी उसको बाहर नहीं लाए हैं क्योंकि इतनी जगह नहीं है। तो 32 अंगों का जो अंदर के हो रहे हैं उनका जब हम विवेचन करते हैं, उन पर ध्यान रखते हैं कि कैसे हैं, और ये 5 अंग जो बाहर हैं इन्हीं को अगर हम अलग अलग करके देखें, काट के देखें, तो ये दिखेगा, केश, लोम, नख, त्वचा, दांत। जब वो जो लगे हुए हैं तो सुंदर लगते हैं, जब आप उनको काट के अलग अलग रखेंगे तो आप प्रश्न कर सकते हैं, इनमें क्या सुंदरता है, और सुंदरता में किसको, मेरा क्या क्राइटेरिया है सुंदरता का। तो अब इन दोनों में से कौन ज्यादा सुंदर है, किस बेसिस पे मैं कहूँगा। एक ही जैसे लग रहा है, बट उसमें थोड़ी अंदर की पार्ट दिख रहे हैं, और वो हमें मालूम भी है अंदर क्या है, उसमें रोबोट में क्या है अंदर हमें मालूम है, बट हम ये नहीं देख पाते कि हमारे शरीर के अंदर क्या है। तो इसीलिए फिर हम लोगों ने तरीके बनाए कि फिर जो एनाटॉमिकल फोटो पिक्चर्स हैं वो देखें, स्केलेटन की ओर देखें, और फिर कंटेम्पलेट करें। जैसे एक कंटेम्पलेशन ये भी है कि शरीर में 9 द्वार होते हैं, उन 9 द्वारों से क्या बाहर आता है, उसमें क्या सुंदरता है, और वो सब शरीर के अंदर से आ रहे हैं, तो ऑब्वियसली शरीर के अंदर भी वही सब चीज, वही सब गंध भरा पड़ा है। तो ये एक contemplation है, looking at the uh, pictures at the skeleton, and we also do look at the video of a woman autopsy. I won't show it here, मैं straight read में देखा था, और edit में करेंगे if everybody agrees. It shows the autopsy of a woman, which is a bit gory, so one has to be careful about it. When looking at the skeletons, as I said, we have the skeletons in monasteries, so that we can see that this is the essential structure of the body. इसी स्केलेटन के ऊपर ही सारा कुछ, ऐसे जैसे कहा गया पिछले इसमें देखेंगे, अट्ठिनम नगरम कतम मम से लोहित लेपिनम, हड्डियों का एक नगर बनाया और उसको मांस और खून से लेप दिया। तो ये शरीर है बेसिकली, ये हड्डियों का नगर है, इस पे मांस लगा दिया अलग अलग जगह पे, और स्किन से लपेट दिया, तो एक सुंदर पुरुष या स्त्री बन गए। तो सुंदरता हमने उस पर थोपी। तो ये हमने कई पिछले साल रिट्रीट के लिए ये अलग अलग तरह के डायग्राम बनाए थे, ताकि जब हम ध्यान कर रहे हैं तो वी कैन रिफ्लेक्ट इन दिस मैनर, स्पेशली वी कैन लुक एट द हाफ दिस वे, कि अंदर क्या है और बाहर क्या है वो साथ साथ साइमल्टेनियसली दिख जाए, तो उसके जो अट्रैक्शन है बॉडी का, स्किन का, वो कम होता है, की संभावना रहती है। फोकस ऑन इट फॉर सम टाइम एंड कॉन्टेम्पलेट। And then similarly, contemplation of skulls, because face is the most visible part of a human body, and that's what really most of the time attracts. The rest of the parts are usually covered by clothes. So these are various pictures which we can reflect on. You can see there. This is the skeleton sitting in various postures, in order to see that when we sit in different postures, in a chair or taking a cup of tea, we can visualize actually the whole movements are being done by the skeleton. So in Yamarama we had got a skeleton and we had covered it with a good clothing and a goggle and a cap. So this was our Mr. Skeleton in our meditation during the 10-day retreats and 30-day retreat also. So there are certain caveats about it. Who should practice Ashubha Bhavana? So quite often people ask this question, should householders practice, who are young people and who are married and going to have children and all that? Well, the general recommendation is that if even in young people, if the lust is very strong, it is helpful to practice it, to keep it in check. Because lust is like fire. If it is restrained, fire can be used to cook food. If it is unrestrained, it will burn the house. And we know everyday newspapers tell us about what is the effect of unrestrained lust and how it creates catastrophes. But if one has an aversive relation to the body, for example, somebody has a feeling I'm already ugly, I'm too fat or thin or short, or one has been a victim of physical abuse, it's suggested that we should avoid practicing of this kind. The idea of this is not to develop aversion towards the body, but if one has already a aversive temperament and a kind of aversive relationship with the body, शरीर के प्रति अगर हमारा रिलेशनशिप हेल्दी नहीं है, मैं बहुत मोटा हूँ, पतला हूँ, लंबा हूँ, सुंदर नहीं हूँ, अगर ये भाव है तो ये साधना करने की जरूरत नहीं है, तब तो मैत्री की साधना करनी चाहिए. Similarly, the whole idea is not, as I said, to develop aversion, but to develop equanimity and dispassion. तो हमारा उद्देश्य ये नहीं कि शायद शरीर के प्रति ये कितना गंदगी का बैग है और ये बहुत ही इसके प्रति aversion नहीं पैदा करना, द्वेष नहीं करना, बट समत्व भाव रखना. उस समत्व भाव रखने के लिए ये भी कहा जाता है कि जो शरीर के विभिन्न अंग हैं उनकी यूटिलिटी क्या है उसमें भी कॉन्टेम्पलेट करें. हाथ किस काम आता है, पाँव किस काम आते हैं, आँख किस काम आती है. सो दिस ट्राइज टू काउंटर बैलेंस. एक तरफ से हम उसकी अनअट्रैक्टिव एस्पेक्ट देख रहे हैं, दूसरी तरफ से उसका यूजफुल एस्पेक्ट देख रहे हैं, तो बैलेंस हो जाता है. और ये भी हम समझते हैं कि जो ब्यूटी के मापदंड हैं वो सारे आर्टिफिशियल हैं. किसने कहा कि इस तरह की शेप होनी चाहिए, ये ब्यूटीफुल और ये ब्यूटीफुल नहीं है. ये हमारा परसेप्शन डेवलप कर दिया गया कंडीशनिंग के कारण. और इसके लाभ क्या होंगे कि सेंसुअल लस्ट कम हो जाए, काम छंद कम हो जाए, और जो काम छंद बढ़ रहा था वो कंट्रोल में आ जाता है. और ये भी फिर वही रिफ्रेन वही रहेगा, टेक जो था, अध्यतंग हुआ, बाहिकता हुआ, समुदाय धम्मानुपस्सी हुआ, वै धम्मानुपस्सी, सो ऑल दोज थिंग्स विल कीप ऑन डूइंग. तो उसके समुदाय बाय धम्म देखने के लिए हमने ये दो वीडियो ढूंढे थे, जो टाइम लैप्स वीडियोस हैं, जिसमें कि एक बच्चा धीरे 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 बूढ़ा हो जाता है, एक बच्ची धीरे 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 बूढ़ी हो जाती है. सो दीज वीडियोस व्हेन वी सी, इट गिव्स एन आइडिया ऑफ, बिकॉज हमको जब तक मन ठीक रहता है, शरीर ठीक रहता है, तो आइडिया ही नहीं रहता कि मैं बूढ़ा कब से हो गया. कईयों को सडनली रिटायरमेंट के टाइम पे याद आता है, अच्छा मैं बूढ़ा भी हो गया हूँ, बिकॉज वी डोंट लुक एट द बॉडी इन ए ऑब्जेक्टिव मैनर. सो दिस इज another way. By looking at these time lapse videos, we can cultivate the idea of impermanence of the body, which otherwise is obviously so obvious to us. There is another way of contemplating on the samudaya and vaya dhamma, starting from the birth, growing up, falling ill, getting old, dying, ending up in flames, something like the benefits of kaya anupassana as a whole. So there is still some more part of kaya anupassana, but I've put it here, that the six senses of ours are constantly pulling us outward. And which faculty is going to determine what we are doing, it depends on which of the sense attractions is stronger for us. जैसे यहाँ एक जनरेटेड पिक्चर में दिखाया गया कि हम फूड कोर्ट में गए, वहाँ सोचते हैं कि ये खाऊं कि वो खाऊं कि ये खाऊं, एंड देन वी हैव टू टेक अ डिसीजन समहाउ एंड कैन खाऊं. इसके लिए भगवान ने एक बहुत सुंदर उपमा दी है, इसी कारण मैंने यहाँ डाला है. छप्पानक उपमा सत्ता. छप्पानक ना, छह, पानक मतलब एनिमल्स, छह एनिमल्स की उपमा दी है. वो कहते हैं कि ऐसा मान लीजिए कि एक मनुष्य ने रस्सी से छह एनिमल्स बांधे हुए हैं और वो पकड़ के रखा रस्सियों को से. तो उसका क्या हाल होगा, वो इन छह के छह एनिमल्स को रोकने की कोशिश कर रहा है, बहुत ही मुश्किल काम. और उनमें से जो भी, हर एनिमल जो है भागना चाहेगा अपनी डायरेक्शन में. मंकी जंगल की तरफ जाएगा, बर्ड चाहेगा मैं उड़ के चला जाऊं, सांप चाहेगा कि मैं पिन होल में चला जाऊं, कुत्ता चाहेगा शहर की तरफ चला जाऊं, और क्रोकोडाइल चाहेगा मैं पानी में चला जाऊं. अब इनमें जो स्ट्रांग होगा वही सबको खींच लेगा. यहाँ जैसे क्रोकोडाइल है वो सब आदमी को भी खींच रहा है, और इन सबको खींच के ले जाएगा अपनी जगह पे। तो इसी तरह से हमारा मानस, ह्यूमन बीइंग भी बिल्कुल ऐसा ही है. The six sense faculties are like six animals tied together, each pulling in its own direction. Holding all these rope firmly in one's hand is an exceedingly difficult task. बता रहे हैं कि आप इस तरह से इंद्रियों को कंट्रोल कर लें, छह की छह इंद्रियों को, कि मैं प्रतिक्षण सजग रहूंगा और उसको रोक पाऊंगा, बहुत ही मुश्किल काम है. Because they are pulling apart in different directions. So what is the suggestion? That's where the Kayagata Sati or Kayanupassana helps us. So the Buddha suggests you take all these six animals and tie them to a rope, to a pole which is very strongly established. And this pole is actually the pole of body, contemplation of the body. So if you have constant contemplation of the body, then the sensory pulls are not so strong because the body, part of your attention is in the body. And if you can maintain that attention for sufficient time, eventually those senses get stopped. Just as if you tie these six animals to the pole strongly, they'll try to pull here and there, and after some time they'll get tired and just sit down quietly. Exactly same way, it says the pulls of the senses can be restrained by Kayagata Sati. So it's a real read out. Kayagata Sati is like a strong post to which the six animals attach. The third, enabling their conflicting pulls to be endured without losing stability. How? Kayagata Sati gives rise to an inner sense of contentment, uplifting joy that cannot be shaken by external attractions or aversions. So if you have practiced Kayagata Sati or the body contemplation for a long time, then this kind of situation does arise. So we can allow the sensory pulls to be there and we are observing them, and eventually they die out, and then based on wisdom we can take a decision whatever has to be done. So these are the benefits of it. It is protection from the assault of Mara, sense objects. In daily life also we can notice that the sense object is pulling mind and the mind towards itself. We can establish body awareness of the whole body as a whole, and that gives us a footing, strong footing for handling the unpleasant feelings or the strongly pleasant feelings arising from outside. What is being put up, Honorable Ronaldo points out, is that when an attention is narrowly focused on a subtle or limited object, like say breath, then we lose awareness of the larger context and the continuity of mindfulness becomes very difficult to maintain. So this is the suggestion and benefits being mentioned. Okay, then we come to the next element, which is Dhatu Manasikara Bandham. I think I'll stop here for a few minutes. If there are any questions, you can ask.
Yeah, hi, this is Nishant. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so good you talked about lust. I'm bachelor and of the late, specifically in last a couple of months, I was meditating in and out. Lust for women comes a lot, especially voluptuous women. And usually I'm very strict because uh, yeah, so I tried different things. Usually, sometimes I say that, lust for may my lust go down, and sometimes it's contemplation of either breath and either through the Vedana route or sort of looking inside. So when you say that you should look inside, you are trying to say that I should start looking into my bones when I meditate.
You look at this, you look at these pictures, or look at the this picture. This is what internally the whole body looks like. So keep
So you're
this in
saying that
front of
I
you,
I, I keep a picture
contemplate
in
on
front
it.
of me
Yeah,
like this.
yes, and contemplate on it. Make it an object of meditation, so that this
Okay.
imprint gets into the mind. And
Mm-hmm.
whenever you look at something, this picture comes to the mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an instance, a story. It's not a story, it's actually from autobiography of Ajahn Dal.
Mm-hmm.
What he says is that when he was in this young boy and he was studying engineering in his college, now as a young man, he was obviously attracted towards the women, girl students there.
Mm-hmm.
So he would look at them for some time. And because of his practice of this kind in the past life, as soon as he would look at the girl for a few minutes, he will see all the skin fall off and he will look at the internal organs of the person. His whole lust, whole sense of attraction just fell down.
Okay, so it doesn't happen like that. Khair, I don't get attracted here to a
Obviously,
lot of.
don't happen.
Is it because I'm trying to be very serious and avoid? Because I was in America and I thought I was in love. Maybe I wanted to get married to American only. Is it because I have uh, become very strict in life? I don't allow women to come close. That it is creating a problem. You think that could be the reason?
You see, not allowing women to come close is basically a lack of confidence in oneself. No?
No, no, it's not because it's the opposite thing. Because I
Yeah.
had to come out of dating app because married women and stuff were coming. So it's exactly
No,
opposite of what you're saying.
issue
It's
is
because I never wanted to get married to an Indian woman, so that's the reason. I
no,
wanted to
the
be in
issue is
America, and so that's the reason I'm saying.
no, the issue is that there is an intrinsic attraction of man towards woman and woman towards man. These are the words of the Buddha
Hmm.
compared
Yeah,
to the
yeah. The
size.
last attachment that will
These
go will
are
be sex. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
the words of the Buddha, and this is basically because our birth is through the process of sensual lust of our parents. We're born, so the body is born
Hmm.
out of that process. So you can't run away from this by suppressing it. What you're doing is
Okay.
suppression.
Okay.
This should be done. This is the recommendation of the Buddha. You contemplate on this.
Hmm.
Remember, do this chanting of 32 parts, and to the extent you can visualize, you can see that these are the 5 parts. You can take out your knuckle nails, cut them, and lay them here, and cut them here, and see what is the beauty in this. The beauty is arising only because of the accumulated perception about a particular kind of uh, say figure. It's basically the geometry of the figure and the skin, which is on which we spend so much millions of dollars throughout the world on making the skin look good.
Okay.
Otherwise, intrinsically, there's nothing beautiful about it. If you look at it, if you don't take care of the body for a few days, if you're in a hospital and very ill for a few days, the body stinks. Why? Because that's the nature of the body internally. So the contemplation is the key thing so that we develop a dispassion towards the body. We develop on the basis of the reality of the body, not on the basis of I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, because that is a external imposition by my likes and dislikes. So the
Okay.
whole practice should be based on wisdom. That's what Buddha advises us to do. He says you contemplate on this, and this is the simplest way. Of course, we had in our center we had a skeleton, so one can put it and see what is inside the body. If you were to remove the skin of the body, this is what is inside the body. You can contemplate what of it is beautiful, which is smelling nicely. Are the intestines smelling nicely? What is there in the inside the intestines? Feces, urine, blood. That's what actually those 32 parts are listed there. If you recall, all those
Hmm.
things are meant. In the body, there is bones and bone marrow and blood and urine and sputum. And now, when you reflect on that again and again and again, there's a natural dispassion developed towards the body.
Okay.
Then you're not afraid of, you're not really worried about getting trapped in any way. Hmm? That if I
You,
come in contact with
so,
women, I'll get trapped. Or I may get lust may develop. No, you don't. Because you have seen through it. The whole idea of practice is to rise above it by seeing through the true nature of the phenomena. Here it is body. That is the whole practice. The practice of Buddha's teachings is developing yathabhuta jnana darshanam. So yathabhuta, as it is happening in the body, we develop a wise reflection on that. What is this true nature of the body? And on
mhm.
that basis, naturally, dispassion will arise, equanimity will arise. Then we don't have to force ourselves to do this or avoid that or do this. That's the
Okay.
okay.
Sure. Okay. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
Anything else? Fine. Then you come to the next part. analytical dhatu manasikara padam. Now you must understand, which means practicing kaya anupashana, observing the body in the light of paying attention to the dhatus. Now what does this dhatu mean? Let's first read the statement in the sutta, and that itself explain what the dhatus are. So the section begins with Bhikkhu imameva kayam yatha thitam yatha panitam dhatuso pacha vekkati. Athimasmin kaye pathvi dhatu ayo apo dhatu tejo dhatu ayo dhatu ti. Very simple, small instruction. Here the bhikkhu looks at the body from the perspective, as whatever it is, in whatever posture it is, whether it is sitting or in whatever posture, it looks it from the perspective of dhatus. Pachavekkati means reflects upon it on that basis. What is it? And realizes in this body there are Athimasmin in this body there are Prithvi dhatu, earth element, Apo dhatu, water element, Tejo dhatu, fire element, Vayu dhatu, air element. Now, this is a, तो हिंदी में बोल देता हूँ ना कि एक साधक जो है अपनी काया को रिफ्लेक्ट करता है, उस पर विवेचन करता है कि क्या किससे बनी हुई है, क्या है इसमें, और वो धातुओं के परिप्रेक्ष्य में उसको देखता है कि काया में है पृथ्वी धातु है, जल धातु या आपो धातु है, तेजो धातु या उष्ण है, गर्मी है, और वायु धातु है जो धारण चलन है. तो उसकी वो सिमिली देते हैं भगवान. इस सिमिली को समझने से पहले आई थिंक वो अंडरस्टैंड किया धातु है क्या. तो यहाँ पे भगवान ने 4 धातुओं की बातें की हैं. धातु आर कैन बी सीन एज एलिमेंट्स, but it has a more wider kind of connotation than these 4. बाद में देख लेंगे. तो इसलिए इन चारों को महाभूत भी कहा जाता है. मतलब they are the great elements which constitute matter. When we say Mahabhut, then it is specifically these 4. And they are essentially named the 4 distinctive characteristics manufactured in matter. These are not like elements of science. That's a subtle thing which we have to appreciate. When we talk of elements in science, we talk about the science like hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon, and so on. 94 natural, 118 this and that. So we think this body is consisting of hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon, and oxygen, sulfur. So it means these are the material building blocks of the body. These are not building blocks of the body in that sense. Solidity, fluidity, thermal quality, motion, they are not building blocks in the sense. They are matters of experience. Now, this kind of classification arises because of the very fundamental aspect of Buddha's teachings. The Buddha's teachings are phenomenological, not ontological. Now, this may sound complex words. भगवान की शिक्षा जो है वो घटनाएं बताती है, प्रोसेसेस को बताती है, हमारे अनुभव को बताती है, ना कि वो किस चीज से बना हुआ है वो अनुभव. तो ये बेसिक डिफरेंस है साइंस में और भगवान की शिक्षा में. क्योंकि भगवान हमको अपने अनुभव को जांचना और पहचानना और उससे सीखना सिखा रहे हैं. हमारा शरीर किस हाइड्रोजन से बना है, कि कार्बन से बना है, क्या ऑक्सीजन से बना है, उससे हमें कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला. लेकिन हमारे शरीर में भारीपन होता है, शरीर में हल्कापन होता है, शरीर में गर्मी होती है, शरीर में हलन चलन होती है, शरीर में पानी होता है, एक भाव होता है, लिक्विडिटी होती है, गीलापन होता है. ये चीजें हमारे अनुभव में आती हैं. तो भगवान जो है वो हमारी सारी उनकी जो शिक्षा है, सारी की सारी, सिर्फ ये नहीं, सारी शिक्षा में जो हमारा चेतन अनुभव है उसके बारे में बताया जाता है. जबकि जो दूसरी विज्ञान है वो हमको अस्तित्व और उसकी प्रकृति के बारे में बताती है. अस्तित्व क्या है, संसार क्या है, ये प्लैनेट्स क्या है, दुनिया क्या है. भगवान क्या कहते हैं संसार को? 6 इंद्रियां संसार है. बड़ा अटपटा सा लगता है ना, 6 इंद्रिय संसार है। बट आप गहराई से सोचेंगे तो हमारे लिए संसार 6 इंद्रियां ही है और कुछ नहीं है। 6 इंद्रियों से जो हमारा संसार से इंटरेक्शन होता है वही हमारे लिए संसार है। जो हम देख पाते हैं, सुन पाते हैं, सुन पाते हैं, वो संसार है। So it's a very important aspect which you should remember to understand the Buddha's teachings. Not only this teaching, every teaching. That he is describing the experience. So his teachings are phenomenological. They're not describing the nature of the object under consideration. In fact, he avoids it. You remember that 2 arrows analogy and so on. He's not trying to tell us what is the nature of the being or nature of the matter. He's trying to tell us how do we experience matter. Okay? So the Buddha's teachings aim to understand matter as it is experienced by humans. So the dhatus are therefore not constant particles, but fundamental elements of experience. So this is to be understood. So whenever we experience the body, ours or anything, or in fact any matter, what do we experience it as? If I were to experience this mic and lift it, what will I experience? Its texture, its weight, it'll look some heavy to me or light to me. I can't of course eat it and so tell you the taste, or I can not even see that it is solid. It doesn't have any liquidity. Apparently, there is no liquid in it, but it has some temperature. I can feel it. Same thing applies to the body. So when we practice the Dhatu Mansikara Pabham, it means we give attention to these 4 elements present in the body. And we then see that as far as experience is concerned, the body is constituted of 4 elements from the experiential point of view. And then we can understand this example which Buddha gives, that just as through a skilled butcher or his apprentice, having killed a cow, would sit at a crossroad and cut it up into pieces. So imagine now what is happening. If there is a cattle and it has been cut into pieces by a butcher and is sitting at a crossroad, that must have been the tradition at the time. Even in our village, we find people sitting at the crossroad and selling fish. So it's not gone really in 2600 years. So they're selling the meat, and what he is selling, he doesn't say, I'm selling cow or cattle. I'm selling meat. You can take liver, or you can take heart, or you can take leg piece, or you can take brain piece or something. So having cut up, the perception of animal is gone. Perception of meat and the constituent parts has come. So the Buddha is pointing out that if you similarly keep on reflecting on the body in the terms of the experience of Prithvi Dhatu, Vayu Dhatu, Apo Dhatu, Tejo Dhatu, then you are actually cutting up the body into the experience of the body into these 4 categories, which are always present in different parts of the body. They are present in different proportion. So we need to see the application of this will be that if you constantly practice it in that manner, we'll actually be butchering the body into these elements. And in this way, the solidity of the body vanishes for us. Its homogeneity as a solid constituent vanishes, and it becomes a combination of parts, combination of experiences. And in that sense, the identity with the body as a unit is diminished. So it is a move towards disidentifying with the body. Some important characteristics which will help us to understand it better are that these elements always arise together. They are qualities, not substances. I'm again repeating. Every material substance possesses a certain degree of solidity, a certain measure of cohesion, a different temperature, and an inherent state of continuous motion. So all these 4 elements are always present. It's not that they are not present. So in this also, you may see it's a solid thing. In this also, there is some element of motion internally, which I can't see, but we know, science tells us. There is some element of heat, which I can feel. And there's some element of cohesion, because water's characteristic is cohesion. See, I think I didn't discuss that. What are the characteristics of the elements? Earth element has the characteristic of solidity or hardness or resistance. And water element has the characteristic of fluidity and cohesion. Thermal element, Tejo Dhatu, has the characteristic of thermal quality, heat or cold. Air element has the quality of motion or mobility. And you can see they're directly related to the experience of these elements in nature. Earth element means heaviness. If you lift earth up, heavy up, stone up, it has a large amount of earth elements. It's heavy. Liquids, water has a fluidity. But the biggest quality from the point of view of matter is it has a cohesive property. पानी में जो होता है एक जुड़ाव करने की शक्ति होती है. अगर हम आटा ले लें अलग अलग पड़ा हुआ है, तो पानी डालते हैं तो आपस में जोड़ दो, उसको गूंथ के वो एक गुथा हुआ आटा बन जाता है जिससे कि हम रोटी बनाते हैं. तो उसमें जोड़ दिया, उसने पानी ने क्या किया, उसको जोड़ दिया. लेकिन अगर पानी हम ज्यादा डाल देंगे तो फिर पानी की कैरेक्टरिस्टिक हो जाएगी, वो सारा बह जाएगा. तो पानी के अपने भी गुण है बहने के, लेकिन उसके कोहिजन के गुण है. तो इसलिए शरीर को जो हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, जो शरीर के सारी चीजें जुड़ी हुई हैं, उसको जल धातु या आपो धातु का कैरेक्टरिस्टिक माना जाता है कि शरीर रुका हुआ है. हमें मालूम है जब शरीर डिहाइड्रेट हो जाए, जब बहुत बीमार हो जाते हैं या मृत्यु के समय जब शरीर बहुत डिहाइड्रेट हो जाता है, तो शरीर के अंग जो है शिथिल पड़ने लगते हैं और वो धीरे धीरे डिसिपेट हो सकते हैं. तेजो धातु तो क्लियर ही है. बुखार आता है तो टेम्परेचर बढ़ जाता है, ठंड लगती है तो टेम्परेचर घट जाता है. और वायु धातु जो है मूवमेंट करती है. हम देखते हैं प्रकृति में भी वायु चलती है तो पत्ते हिलते हैं. शरीर में भी देखते हैं, हम सांस अंदर लेते हैं तो शरीर में हलन चलन होती है. तो वायु धातु को उस तरह से पहचाना जाता है. सो वी प्रैक्टिस इन अ प्रॉपर मैनर बाय लुकिंग एट द बॉडी, scanning the body from top to bottom, first for the solidity, then for fluidity, then for heat, then for motion, and then together also, so that we can recognize that bodies, the experience of bodies essentially constituted of these four elements. Of course, this term dhatu is used in many other ways. I don't want to spend time here in this case here. Okay. So something pictures I have drawn to show you how you can experience this. So when you are walking on the ground, for example, this person walking on the sand, you can see that sand is resisting his movement. It's not getting into it. The sand also has a earth element and his body also has an earth element, but then because of the weight, there is a slight sinking over there in the sand. But if he's walking on a stone, no sinking will happen because that is a much larger resistance offered. And then there is water flowing in the front. You can see water is flowing. This person is taking water, so he is experiencing the wetness, the liquidity of the water. Of course, cohesion is a property which we can't directly experience, but is an inference. As they gave the example of flower and you put water into it and it joins it together. Or you take dust and you put water, it joins it together. Then this is the air, the person is breathing and you can see there's a movement happening constantly. And this is the fire element or Tejo Dhatu. Sitting in front of the fire, the person is experiencing heat. So when we talk of earth, it has a prominence of earth element. But all other elements are also present. When we talk of water, it has a prominent of water element. But other elements are also present. Similarly, in air also other elements are present, and in fire also various other elements are present. But there is a predominance, intensity is high of that particular element. And this is what we can actually experience within the body by properly going through the parts of the body. You can also contemplate on dhatu in the light of modern science, that looking at this body, whatever we eat, body is supported by food, ahara. And the physical food is one of the prominent ones. There are other fields also, but focusing on physical food comes from earth. In a particular photosynthesis, we generate the plants are generated by absorbing solar energy. There is water required for them, there is earth required for them, and there is air required for it. because oxygen interaction with the air happens. So all the four elements are involved in production of the food. And what we eat is also those elements. Of course, the element intensities are different. Different foods have different amounts of earth element, water element, air element. And that's how the body gets built up over a period of time and supported by period of time. So we can see the symbiotic relationship of the body with the surroundings. तो जो काया है उसको हम बाहर के वातावरण से, तो काया को सपोर्ट करने के लिए भोजन की आवश्यकता है, आहार की आवश्यकता है। और आहार किस तरह से आता है, इस डायग्राम में दिखाया गया है कि उसके लिए कोई पेड़ प्लांट पैदा लग रहा है, उसके लिए धरती की जरूरत है, पोषण धरती से लेता है, पानी लेता है, हवा लेता है, और सूरज की गर्मी आती है, तभी कुछ प्लांट बढ़ता है और उसमें फल या भोजन कुछ पैदा होता है। तो इस तरह से भी हम विचार करके समझ सकते हैं कि हमारी काया में यही चीजें सम्मिलित हैं। चारों धातुएं, जो जिन धातुओं से भोजन बना है वही धातुएं हमारे शरीर में आती हैं, और उन धातुओं का प्रोपोर्शन अलग अलग होता है। हमें मालूम है, कुछ सब्जियों में पानी ज्यादा होता है, कुछ में पानी कम होता है, वो हम जानते हैं अपने अनुभव से। तो इनका हम डेली एक्टिविटीज में भी कंटेम्पलेशन कर सकते हैं, चलते समय, खाते समय, नहाते समय। जो हमने एरिया पथ पब्बम में बात की थी कल, शरीर चल रहा है तो उसके साथ साथ हम उसको इंटीग्रेट कर सकते हैं धातु मनसिकार पब्बम से भी। जैसे मैंने अभी डायग्राम में भी दिखाया, जब हम धरती पे चलते हैं तो धरती का जो अर्थ एलिमेंट है वो हमारे शरीर को सपोर्ट करता है, लेकिन वो हमको अपोजिंग फोर्स भी देता है। तो हम सोच सकते हैं कि जब धरती पे चल रहे हैं तो, और अनुभव जो पाँव पे हो रहा है, वो पाँव के अर्थ एलिमेंट का है कि धरती के अर्थ एलिमेंट का है। अब आप इस पर विचार करें तो एक्चुअली वो दोनों के इंटरेक्शन का रिजल्ट है। ऐसा नहीं है कि वो ना मेरा अर्थ एलिमेंट है ना वो वाला अर्थ एलिमेंट। So in a very subtle way, we can see that the earth element in the body also is the experience of that depends on the surroundings. Okay? If you're walking on a hard ground, if you're walking on a soft ground, if you're walking on a rock, there's a different experience. Body is same body with the same element, it experiences differently, because what we experience is a combination of the surroundings and ourselves. So if you see, for example, similarly, you can experience the water element. When you put the water, when you drink water, it's coming from the surroundings and going into our body. When we take a hot cup of tea, the heat from the fire which heated the tea is entering our body. So in this way, we can realize the constant interchange with the surroundings of various elements which are happening. So it's a matter of changing our way of looking at our day-to-day life. So the conclusion is that with continued practice, a day will come when we truly understand that all material phenomena in nature arise from interplay and combination of these four elements and depend on them. And we too also are not different from them. Now, I've put a question here for you to think. What are bodily sensations? When we say I'm experiencing heat, cold, I'm experiencing pressure, I'm experiencing lightness, I'm experiencing trembling, I'm experiencing movement. What are they? They're actually dhatu experience. They're not Vedana experience. Vedana is the affective tone of that. Whether that experience is pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. That is Vedana. These bodily sensations are actually dhatus which we are experiencing. Prithvi dhatu experiences as solidity, heaviness, lightness. Vayu dhatu is experienced as movement, trembling, shaking. Tejo dhatu is experienced as heat, as I said. Prithvi dhatu is experienced as lightness. Water element is experienced in the form of water flowing through the body. The blood is having water element. The spit, and if we just focus attention on the tongue, we can see water element. There's wetness in the tongue always. तो यहाँ पे मैं प्रश्न ये पूछा है कि जो शरीर की संवेदनाएं होती है वो क्या है एक्चुअली। अगर हम इन धातुओं के संदर्भ में देखें तो शरीर की संवेदनाएं, जिनको हम कहते हैं भारीपन, हल्कापन, गर्मी, सर्दी, हिलन डुलन, कांपना शरीर का, गीलापन, वो सब धातुओं का अनुभव हो रहा है। जो वेदना है वो उनका स्वाद कैसा है उस पर डिपेंड करेगी, वो प्रिय है कि अप्रिय है उसे वेदना कहते हैं। तो ये धातुएं ही हम अनुभव करते हैं, जो हम इस तरह से अनुभव करते हैं कि ये भारीपन लग रहा है, हल्कापन लग रहा है, ये बहुत गर्मी लग रही है, यहाँ बहुत दर्द हो रहा है, यहाँ पे गीलापन लग रहा है, पसीना आ रहा है। वो सब धातुओं का प्रकटीकरण है। एक पिक्चर हमने बनाई थी। अगर हम इस पिक्चर को ध्यान से देखें, कॉन्टेम्पलेट करें कि जिस चीज से पेड़ बने हैं उसी से हमारा शरीर भी बना है, उसी से छतरी भी बनी है, उसी से धरती भी बनी है। हैविंग सेम continuation of the what is there in the material level. At the material level, our bodies and the surrounding are exactly of the same constant. Only thing is the proportion is different. The intensity of earth element, water element, air element is different in human body and the tree. But of course, there is a conscious life. There is the vijnana element, which is not in the immaterial, in the material element in that sense. Right? Okay. Now, if there's any comment or question about this domain, this part, can take that. Dhatu Manasikara problem.
Yeah, yes, sir. This is Nishant. Okay. I just wanted to check now. Let's say you get that dhatu experience. This time, do we need to think, okay, this is earth element आया है, अभी air element आ रहा है, अभी water element आ रहा है. Do we have to say that subconsciously as we try to get into awareness?
When we practice Dhatu Manasikara problem, yes, we should. We should mentally note. This is the mental noting. This is this element. This is, why is it required? So that we ultimately understand the whole body is actually built up of elements only. There's nothing in it. When I say built up, it means the experience of the body. So I'm kindly bear within me in that mind. That statement always should be done in mind. That the experience of the body is essentially these elements. There's nothing else. So when we look at it again and again and again, then material phenomena is for us reduced essentially into four elements. So they are not ours. Elements are belong to the nature. They are not ours. So that issue of my body is diffused. It's kind of challenged. So the movement towards anatta begins in this manner. Another aspect of looking at the body and looking at its constitution and the experience from the experience point of view, and developing the sense of impersonality of the human body. Because human body is the biggest identifier we have, and to be able to disidentify it on the basis of wisdom, not forcible doing it, is very helpful. So when you practice this way, you can always do that. When you want to practice according to this section of the Satipatthāna Sutta, then we actually note, yeah, this is Prithvi Dhatu, Vayu Dhatu. And we also note the interaction between this Prithvi Dhatu in my body and the surrounding, Vayu Dhatu in my body and the surrounding. Because after all, when I breathe, it's the air from outside which is going into my body. And when I exhale, I send it back into something else into the body. When I breathe in, temperature is something. When I breathe out, temperature is something else. So we can note those things and see the operation of dhatus in every interaction with the world.
Just wanted
So
to
now,
also come back to you on something which you said. See, metta bhavna or loving kindness in Theravada tradition as a Buddhist is considered very high. And Sharon Salzberg has also written a book, which I'm right now reading about it. You said during your time of the presentation that when you're negative about yourself, you use metta. This is not I've read from anywhere. As a matter of fact, metta is considered the very one of the most powerful forms of meditation. which has also helped me. I never used to give so much of metta, but ever since metta has, I've started sort of I've seen profound changes. So you mentioned during your one of your slides as if metta is given when people, as a matter of fact, metta is given, I thought, when it is the most positive thing, sort of to get down, to give up desire. Desire, according to Buddha, was the number one thing which stops loving kindness. So just your thoughts on that.
See, when we study the whole of the sutta and understand what are the antidotes for aversion, the antidote is practice metta.
Right.
If you have aversion,
Aversion,
if you have
for
aversion
aversion. Yeah.
towards some, yeah. Now, if you have aversion towards your own body, practice metta towards your own body. How you do it? By proper understanding. What are the benefits I am getting from my body? That's why I said reflect on the utility of various organs of the body, so that if I have an aversive relationship with my body, I practice metta towards the body wisely, with wisdom. Okay, it's not a sentimentality. I'm talking about with wisdom. Yes, body is useful to me, but if I'm even it is useful to me in everything, conventional
Okay.
sense, in my day-to-day life, in my meditation. So I should not have an aversive relationship with it. I am having a wrong aversive relationship because I'm not looking beautiful in somebody's eyes. So we contemplate properly, reflect properly, and then develop metta. What are the words we use, for example?
Yeah, no, okay, so I was thinking, I was not talking about body, I was talking about metta given to ourselves, that I be peaceful, I be, whatever, be healthy or
That's
whatever.
also
Yeah,
that's,
yeah,
yeah, that's
that
the
in
part of
that
what
sense I'm talking about, not to
yeah,
the body.
that also is that's the same thing. Isn't it? We give to the body, we give to ourselves when we are feeling up. So it depends on what are the words you are using. You see, when when you do practice metta in the Thai forest tradition, the word which you are using, aham avero homi. May I be free from animosity.
Yeah, animosity, and you give it to the world also,
Aham
the whole all.
avapajava homi. So we start from ourselves. May I be free from animosity. May I be free from aversion. May I be free from anxiety.
Anxiety,
May
maybe I
I,
feel from lust or whatever, whatever you want.
may I
Yeah.
be able to take care of myself properly. They are the carefully prepared words, and they are not. They are actually, you can say they are from tradition, but they all come from Patisamyutta. The analytical, the most analytical treatise in the whole Tripitaka. So you can imagine that analytical people are saying do metta, so in this particular manner, and it's elaborate. If you see the complete full metta sutta in our in our chanting book, it runs into pages. So the idea is that we develop those positive mental states, first towards ourselves, then towards others, then towards visible known people, then towards unknown people, then towards all the world systems. You go up to that when you practice properly.
Yeah.
So it's not that we have to wait for development of metta naturally. Of course, then it will be much more powerful. If the mind gets purified, then metta comes naturally. It becomes a part of our life, day-to-day living. But we can also cultivate it by proper practice. So that's what. So when I say practice, that if you have aversive relationship to the body, develop metta toward the body. It means based on the wisdom of understanding. I made that point. Then you understand body is very useful. May I have a may I be free from aversion, free from anxiety, free from animosity, free from ill will towards my own body. Otherwise people harm themselves because of this.
Mhm.
So many cases of harming because I'm not looking nice and so on. So these are good, what are called kushal upaya, proper, appropriate means to cultivate positive qualities. Okay.
Sure. Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you.
और कोई एनीथिंग एल्स, किसी और को कुछ पूछना होगा? चलिए, अगला जो सेक्शन है ये थोड़ा कठिन सेक्शन है, ज्यादा हम उस पर चर्चा नहीं करेंगे. I'll just go through it quickly. Sir, Kaya Anupasana, Navasivathika Pabbam. Now means 9, Sivathik means symmetries. Shamshan, 9 Shamshanon ka parv. Basically, it deals with contemplating on the degeneration of the body and of a dead body as it is left to decay. जो सूत्र में जो वर्ड्स आते हैं ना, तो पढ़ देता हूँ. एवं पिसो भिक्खवे भिक्खु से यथापि पश्येस शरीरम शिवथिकाय छड्डितम् एकाह मतंग वा द्विह मतंग वा त्रिह मतंग वा उद्धुमातकम विनीलकम पिब्बुजाकम सो इममेव संगरति अयम पिखो कायो एवं धम्मो एवं भावी एवं अनिति. This is the crux of the contemplation. So what is it? Monks, as though a monk were to see a corpse cast away in a charnel ground. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days dead, bloated, livid, oozing matter, being devoured by crows, hawks, skeleton by held by sinews. So these are the various things in the 9 contemplations, different levels of degradation. Bones scattered, bones rotten, crumbling into a powder. And then what does he say? He compares this same body, this body with this, and says, this body too is of the same nature. It will be like that. It is not exempt from that fate. So just see the amount of difficult contemplation the person is doing to reduce attachment to the body. And that's why many monks in Thailand and many places still go to the cemeteries to the contemplation, or go to the morgue, or go to the theater where the operation theater where the medical students are being taught the autopsy, so they can actually have a look at it and be free from the sense or lust or attraction for the body. And this has additional aspect of inevitably of the death, and that conceit for the body. I am so strong, I am so beautiful. All that is vanishes. And these words are the key words which you can remember and apply anytime, anywhere. अयम पिखो कायो एवं धम्मो एवं भावी एवं अनतीतो. अयम पिखो कायो, जो मेरी काया है वो बिल्कुल ऐसी है. एवं धम्मो, यही इसका धर्म है. एवं भावी, यही होने वाला है. एवं अनतीतो, ये नहीं बचने वाला नहीं है इससे. Nobody is exempt from. So this is the one of the most powerful contemplations. Buddha calls contemplation of death is the most powerful contemplation, to remove the sense conceit and especially and the attachment attraction of the body, identification of the body, attachment to the body in this manner. So there are 9 different stages of degradation. In the retreat, we had collected certain photographs from a video available from America. There's a forensic anthropology center in Texas State University, where the dead bodies are allowed to these unclaimed bodies are left to rot, and then they study what happens to them. I'll just quickly go through them, not wait for it. You can just have a look and be done with it. This is the ultimate state of the body, degradation of the body, where it ultimately breaks down into parts, bones break out, the skeleton is no longer there. And something more familiar to us is this, what happens to a human body. It is brought in one piece here, and then slowly burnt out, left like an ash, and then collected in a pot. This is what remains ultimately of a human body. And at every stage, at every photograph, you can repeat this. Ayam pikho kayo, evam dhammo, evam bhavi, evam anitito. Of course, again, these contemplations are done only if you don't have negativity towards yourself, or you're not depressed, or have any such difficulty. The method of reducing the conceit and pride which we have, sense of self we have, is this picture which I find very powerful. This is a created picture. It's not totally imaginary because there is a statue of that kind also available in England. This is the statue of one of the greatest kings of Egypt, Ramses II, who had won the whole empire and built up a huge statue of himself. And on the bottom of that was written these words. Yeah, this is the actual statue. On the bottom of it was written, King of Kings am I. If any would know how great I am and where I lie, let him surpass me in my works. This is a 13th century BC king who wrote this, made this huge statue. And it was found by a traveler in a desert because everything, all of his empire is converted to a desert, and only the legs remained and the trunk was gone, and only the head was falling down and was remaining here. So this was the great contrast you can see to the boisterous statement of the king and what happens to him when with the passage of time. So the great poet Shelley wrote down, his name was Ozymandias. Ozymandias is the Greek name for the Ramses II. And he says, oh, my name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. And such a powerful way of putting the statement that we see how much kingdom I have built, how empire I have built, and you look at that and you'll feel as pygmy in front of me. And the paradox is, and the irony is that his own head is lying down on the grid and whole of his empire is converted to a desert. So there's to me, it makes a very powerful reminder of the frailty and the impermanence of life and impermanence of our achievements and whatever else we try to identify with. And it makes you humble. And that's the whole idea of the practice of this, is to reduce the sense of conceit which we have, sense of I which we have, having done great things, great achievements, great phenomenon, made great institutions and so on. Okay. So with this we conclude the Kayanupassana, and I'm just mentioning what are the, from the point of view of the main objective of purification of mind, how do these 14 contemplations help us? I'll just try to put it here. Anapana is basically to collect the mind and tranquilize it. Okay. And of course, simultaneously we saw various insights into impermanence, impersonality. Iriyapat Padmam and Sampajana are basically integrating Kayagata Sati with the activities of daily life. So, but though I have not written here, the insights into impermanence and impersonality are a part of this. We reflect on that. But it's not the crux of them is this. Particular Mansikar, the main purpose of it is actually reducing lust, which is to purify the mind. But this is a very big obstacle to cultivation of mind. And Dhatu Mansikara is actually to reduce Sakkaya Ditthi, attachment to the body. Because you see body as me and you identified 5 khandas. But when you see it as broken up into dhatus, then the identity factor becomes loosens. And now Sivitaka problem is to develop dispassion towards the body and reducing pride. And as I've written, preparing for the last exam, which means preparing for death so that you come to terms with it. It's not something disaster which is happening, of course, which depends on many other things. But this is how we can see what are the Kayanupassana practice section and what are the other, the manner in which we practice it is such that it also helps us to cultivate anicca sanya, dukkha sanya, anatma sanya. And that's all inbuilt into the process of instruction as well as the way we practice the section, because it also depends on how you practice. So the manner in which we practice these is keeping body as the default object of attention and then looking at everything else. Whether it's looking at the breath, or we are looking at the motion of the body, or looking at the various activities, or looking penetrating into the inside the body and trying to figure out, visualize what is inside the body, or look at it in the terms of elements, or contemplate from externally from the symmetry contemplation or the videos of that kind. So with this we conclude the Kayana Prashna. To hurry up some of the things because of the limitations of time. Tomorrow we'll start with Vedana Prashna. If you have any question about whole of this Kayana Prashna section, तो इस प्रकार अगर कायानुपश्ना का सत्र हमारा समाप्त हुआ. आनापान का मुख्य उद्देश्य है मन को शांत करना, लेकिन हमने देखा उसके साथ साथ कि हम जिस तरह से साधना कर रहे हैं, हम अनात्म बोध अनित्य बोध भी जगा रहे हैं. अनित्य बोध तो हर एक सेक्शन में जगा रहे हैं. इरियापथ पद्मम का मतलब था कि चलते हुए भी हमारे हर पोस्चर में हमें सती पुष्ट करें, और संपजान पद्मम का भी था कि हर एक्टिविटी के अंदर कुछ भी क्रियाकलाप कर रहे हैं तो हम इसमें सजगता बनी रहे, हमारी जानकारी बनी रहे. और संपजन्य बना रहे, जब 4 एस्पेक्ट थे जिससे कि प्रज्ञा का एस्पेक्ट पुष्ट होता है. प्रतिकूल मानसिकार पद्मम का मुख्य उद्देश्य था कि हमारी काम वासना कम हो, क्योंकि काम छंद कम हो, जिससे कि हमारा साधना करने में जो ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन है वो कम हो गए. और धातु मनसिकार का था कि हम शरीर को जो है धातुओं के रूप में देखें, उसको एक सघन शरीर देख के और मैं हूं मानने में तो वो सक्काय दिट्ठी बढ़ती है, तो वो सक्काय दिट्ठी को कम करने में मदद करता है. नव से विषय का पद्मम जो था, शरीर की नश्वरता को देखते हुए, मृत्यु के अवश्यंभावी होने को समझते हुए हम शरीर के प्रति निर्वेद भाव और वैराग्य भाव, विराग का भाव जगाते हैं. उसके प्रति जो हमारा आसक्ति होती है कम होती है. अहंकार रहता है, मैं ये हूँ, मैंने वो कर दिया, वो कम होता है. और मृत्यु के लिए हम किस तरह से हम सुखपूर्वक प्राण त्याग सकें, उसकी भी तैयारी होती है. अगर कोई प्रश्न हो तो यू कैन टेक इट फॉर फ्यू मिनट्स.
सर मरणानुसति पे कोई गाइडेड मेडिटेशन है क्या किसी अजान की?
हाँ जी,
सर
सुनाई नहीं दिया मुझे.
मरणानुसति पे कोई गाइडेड मेडिटेशन है क्या बाय एनी अजान?
इस पे
मरणानुसति, डेथ कॉन्टेम्पलेशन पे.
नहीं, विल नॉट हैव टाइम टू डू इट. मतलब अवेलेबल, यू मीन अवेलेबल है?
हाँ
ऑफ
हाँ सर,
कोर्स
मैं बोल रही
अवेलेबल.
हूँ. ओके.
सो मेनी आर देयर अवेलेबल. यू कैन सी आवर वीडियोस आल्सो. हमारे सेक्शन में हमने यहाँ पे की हुई है कई बार, मरणानुस्मृति का काम किया हुआ है. आप उससे भी देख सकते हैं. हमारे वीडियो एबीटी चैनल में भी है, और वैसे भी मरणानुस्मृति के कई वीडियो हैं.
ऑलराइट सर, थैंक यू.
एक रिट्रीट 3 या 4 दिन की अजान अमरों ने भी की थी मरणानुस्मृति के ऊपर, तो वो भी आप देख सकते हैं.
ओके सर,
वो
थैंक यू.
उनकी जो वेबसाइट है उसमें मिल जाएगी आपको.
मैं सर्च कर लूँगी मैं सर. ठीक है.
हमारी वेबसाइट पे भी है, और अमरावती यूनिवर्सिटी की वेबसाइट पे भी है. वैसे भी बहुत मिल जाएंगे. अभी हमारे पास इतना समय नहीं है यहाँ पे करने में.
नहीं सर, वो मैं कर लूँगी. मतलब आई वाज जस्ट आस्किंग फॉर दोस.
जी.
थैंक यू सर.
और कोई प्रश्न?
Sir, if I may ask a question, please. Today's class was clear and illuminating, so thank you very much. It's regarding the conclusion of yesterday's class, where you threw out these questions: who is doing the walking meditation, who chooses between walking and sitting? So is this for us to independently explore, or would you be unpacking this in the retreat?
Yeah, of course, in the retreat we'll definitely be covering them. It's good for each of the participants to develop that investigative abilities, reflective abilities of seeing what governs our actions. And as a hint, I will say you find out what is there's an intention behind everything, isn't it? And intention is governed by certain conditions. So if you reflect in the light of dependent origination, you'll be able to find out
Sure.
how the decision is taken. All this is basically dependent origination practice, which we'll discuss in detail later here also to some extent. But since you
Sure.
asked this question, I mentioned that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anything else? Anybody else? क्या भेजा दीप्ति तुमने? डेथ कंटेम्पलेशन. ठीक.
फिर हमारी जो गाइडेड मेडिटेशंस थे आपने करवाए थे.
But please don't do the death contemplation when you are in low spirits. Please don't do that. It's a caveat. मैंने शायद मेंशन भी किया होगा. ये जो वीडियोस मुझे मैंने पिक्चर दिखाई थी जब रिट्रीट की थी तो उससे पहले मैंने सबको कहा भी था कि काफी स्ट्रॉन्ग पिक्चर्स है. So I'll just read out that. I think it's important. If you ever had a panic attack, don't see them. If you are in a state of depression at this moment, don't see. If you are having breathing difficulties, don't see these. It's very, very important because if I focus on these pictures for a long time, you can create a strong aversive tendencies. If I have a fear of death or fear of seeing dead bodies, please don't do that. Maranasati should not become done very kind of lightly. It's a very difficult and a very powerful practice. So this should be done only when you're in a good frame of mind. So these are the conditions which I didn't mention. I could have seen because we are just going through the picture without waiting. So in the retreat, when I put a picture and wait for a few minutes, before that I will have to say, please don't look at them and contemplate on them in any way if you are in a having state of depression or breathing difficulties or panic attacks. Avoid them. And of course, if on any such thing event, for example, in this corpse contemplation, or even on the body contemplation of the parts, or on skeletons when you contemplate, if you get disturbed, fear arises or aversion arises, stop and go back to the body and sit down quietly with the body. And body without reacting to the whatever is happening, just leave the body, so the mind will calm down, and only then you proceed further. Don't try to force yourself to do things which create a disturbance because they can be very unsettling, especially the corpse meditation. So please take care. Okay, Bhavna?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. So over to you, Poonam, and you can do some chantings a little bit. Maybe Metta chant we can do today.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for this. आज हम फिर सार्वभौमिक कल्याण का विवेचन करेंगे. मैत्री भावी हंदमयन मेत्तापरणन करोमसि. आए हम मैत्री भावना को सभी ओर व्याप्त करें. अहं सुखितो होमि निदुःखो होमि. अवेरो होमि. अभ्यापज्जो होमि. अनिघो होमि सुखियतानन् परिहरामि। मैं सुखी हूँ। दुख से मुक्त हूँ। वैर से मुक्त हूँ। द्वेष से मुक्त हूँ। चिंता से मुक्त हूँ। मैं सुखपूर्वक अपना संरक्षण कर सकूं। सबे सत्ता सुखिता होन्तु। सबे सत्ता अवीरा होन्तु। सबे सत्ता अभ्यापचा होन्तु। सबे सत्ता अनिघा होन्तु। सबे सत्ता सुखियतानन् परिहरन्तु। सभी प्राणी सुखी हो। सभी प्राणी वैर से मुक्त हो। सभी प्राणी द्वेष से मुक्त हो। सभी प्राणी चिंता से मुक्त हो। सभी प्राणी सुखपूर्वक अपना संरक्षण कर सके। सबे सत्ता सब दुःखापमुच्यन्तु। सबे सत्ता लब्ध संपत्तितो मा विगच्छन्तु। सभी प्राणी सभी दुखों से मुक्त हो। सभी प्राणियों की संपत्ति उनसे दूर ना हो। सबे सत्ता कम्मस्सका कम्मदायादा कम्मयोनि कम्मबन्धु कम्मपटि शरणा यन् कम्मन् करिष्यन्ति कल्याणं वा पापकं वा तत्सदायादा भविष्यन्ति। सभी प्राणी अपने कर्मों के स्वामी हैं। कर्म ही उनकी विरासत है, कर्म ही उनकी योनि है, कर्म ही उनका बंधु है, कर्म ही उनकी शरण है। जैसे भी कर्म करेंगे, कुशल अथवा अकुशल, वही उनकी विरासत बनेंगे। संबोधन करेंगे। भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वबुद्धानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते। भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वधर्मानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते। भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वसङ्घानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते। अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवान् बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादेमि। स्वाक्षातो भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि। सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो संघं नमामि। धन्यवाद आप सभी का जुड़ने के लिए। धन्यवाद सर, और बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
Thank you.
शुभ रात्रि।